بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, we're going to start with the Hadith number 33, a principle of justice in the Sharia. And again, the code one more time, inshallah, 88492935 to join on menti.com, inshallah, and to go through this Hadith, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. طيب. Okay. Inshallah, just a moment, get this hadith on the screen. Technical difficulties. But bismillah. Let's try that again. طيب. I think that should do, inshallah. خلاص. So hadith number 33, inshallah. Principle of justice in the Sharia. عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, لو يعطى الناس بدعواهم, were the people to be given everything that they claimed, لادعى رجال أموال قوم ودماءهم, then the men would claim the wealth and the lives of people. ولكن البينة على المدعي, but the onus of proof or the burden of proof is upon the claimant. واليمين على من أنكر, and the one who denies, upon him is to take an oath. And this is narrated in طيب. So very quickly, before we get into the of Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Abbas, who we mentioned, was one of the four Abadila, one of the ones who were known to spread knowledge from amongst the Sahaba, and the people would refer to him for his knowledge. And he was also a student of which companion do you remember? Because he was young, he was only maybe 12, 13 when Rasulullah died, alayhi salatu wasalam. So who was he? Somebody who's the companion who took knowledge from Allah? Anybody remember? Huh? Abdullah ibn Man. نعم, who Abdullah ibn Abbas is حبرنا. But which companion did he get knowledge from? Seek knowledge from? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And that's why they say Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is not from the four Abadila, because he died a little. Abdullah ibn Abbas is the one who was his, who took a lot of knowledge from him. طيب. Let's just see how your understanding of this hadith is. Who is the burden of proof? Is it the one whom the claim is upon, the accused, you could say, or is burden of proof upon both of them? Who is, according to this hadith, who is the burden of proof upon? So, we said here, the one who is claiming, al-mudda'i. The one who is claiming, al-mudda'i, he's the one upon whom the burden of proof is upon. Right. Next question, what is upon the one whom the claim is made upon? So now we're talking about the accused. Al-mudda'a alayh. Al-mudda'a alayh, or the one whom the claim is made upon. If there is no evidence provided, what is upon him? Does he hire a solicitor? Does he appeal to the judge? Does he provide evidence to defend? Does he take an oath? Which one is the correct answer? So, وَالْيَمِينُ عَلَى مَنْ أَنْكَرَ. And notice here, if there is no evidence provided, then it's upon him to take the oath. If there's no evidence provided by the claimant, then it's upon the accused to take an oath. Fine. Now let's go delve more into your understanding of the hadith. So the claimant, the one who's made the claim, provides clear evidence. Two witnesses, for example, or here's a document. And the accused says, even with the evidence present, clear evidence, he says, Wallahi, this is mine, or Wallahi, I did not do it. Who should the, or rather, what should the judge do in this scenario? Should he ask the jury to decide? Should he rule in favor of the claimant, the one who's making the claim? Or should he rule in favor of the accused? Ask the jury to decide. Rule in favor of the one. Let's ask the audience. What do you think is the answer? So the claimant provides clear evidence. Let's make the scenario clear. You have the claimant. This is my book, and Murad has taken my book. So I'm the claimant. I said to the judge, Murad has taken my book. And I have two witnesses here, two of the elders in our community that are respected, that are trustworthy, and they know that this is my book. I've brought the shuhud, they testify. And Murad says, by Allah, this is my book. I didn't steal it. This is my book. What should the judge do? Sorry? Ask the jury to decide. For Sharia, what should the judge do?
Rule in the favor of the claimant.
Rule in the favor of the claimant? So in the favor of me? Why? Because I have the evidence. Because I have the evidence. Now we'll get so that you understand. So the claimant now provides no evidence for this claim. I don't have any witnesses. I'm just claiming that he has my book. The book is in possession of Murad. And I'm claiming that it was my book. I bring absolutely no evidence. What should the judge do now? Should he immediately dismiss the case? Should he rule in favor of the accused, in the favor of Murad? Or should he ask the accused to take an oath? Should he say to Murad, you need to take an oath? Or the last one? I can't see, so it's blocked here. What is this in?
Ask the accused to take an oath.
Ask the, to provide evidence. Those are important ones. So does he ask the accused to take an oath or to provide evidence? So he should ask Murad to provide evidence that this is he's the accused, remember. I'm the claimant. So I've not provided any proof. I'm just saying that this is my belonging. What should the judge do? The claimant should take al-yaminu ala man ankar. The oath is upon the one who denies. Murad is denying here that he stole. So upon him is to take an oath. And if he takes the oath, khalas, who's ruled in favor of? In favor of him. Because I have no evidence. Like, we'll get to more questions. So inshallah we can understand what's going on. So here, let me give you the example. Sorry, do I have it here? Okay, I've not put it in there. But what I'll do is the slide didn't get saved. I'll explain. So in the Islamic court system, in the judiciary system of Islam, what happens? The judge first comes. The judge will come, and the first thing that he'll ask for. Sorry, just a moment. So the judge will first come, and what is the first thing that he asks for? He said, who is al-mudda'i? So I have two people. The judge is going to ask, who is al-mudda'i? Who is the one making the claim? So the claimant, the one who's making the claim, he comes forward. And then the judge will say to the mudda'i, what proof do you have to substantiate that this is your right, or that he did something, that the accused did something? And then he will provide either witness, shuhud, two witnesses as in Islam, two witnesses that can be examined by the judge, or he can provide some physical proof. If it's, for example, talking about property, then here's the evidence, my document that has it. Any of these things that would be considered evidence. That evidence is then examined by the judge, and if the evidence substantiates, if it's evidence that is enough, then the judge immediately gives the ruling in favor of who? Of the claimant. Yeah. But what happens if it is insufficient? I don't have witnesses. I don't have anything to prove that I am the true owner of this book. The claimant, he doesn't have evidence. In this case, the judge turns to al-mudda'a alayh, the accused now. He turns to him and he says, okay, now the ball's in your court. Did you? He says, no. So do this. He has to make an oath. If he makes the oath, case is dismissed, ruling in favor of the accused. He made an oath by Allah. There's no evidence. Khalas. He goes away back with the book. If there was evidence, even if he swears by Allah, no. Judge has to rule in favor of evidence. So the yameen, the oath only happens when no evidence has been provided. Is that clear? So here, if he says, for example, no evidence was provided, I claim this is my book. There's no evidence on my behalf. The judge now says to Murad, swear by Allah that you are that you did not steal this book and that this is your book. Murad says, look, it's my book, but I'm not swearing by Allah. I'm not making an oath. What happens here? The claimant takes the book. Why? Because perhaps he has fear of Allah, and we're going to get to the hadith. He's scared that I want this book, but not enough that I'm going to face Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah. I'm not going to. So I'm not going to make that. I lie, but I won't. And so the judge here can clearly favor of the claimant. Fine. So this is how we see the subhanallah, what's happening? So this is how the Islamic system works. Fine. What are the wisdoms behind this principle? What are the wisdoms that we can get from behind this principle? It's very important that we understand the principles behind this. What are the wisdoms behind it? There are many wisdoms that we can get from this. A famous one that is well known now in the West is our principle to start with. What is to preserve the rights of the people? That's the one that is mentioned in the hadith itself. لَدَّعَى رِجَالٌ أَمْوَالَ قَوْمٍ وَدِمَاءَهُم. If it was just you get what you claim, people will claim the lives and the property of others. So somebody died, he's the one who killed him. I make a claim. If I just get whatever I claim, somebody could be facing the death penalty just because of my claim. So the burden of proof is upon you. So here we say, what they say, innocent until proven guilty. This is a qaida that we have. We say al-aslu al-bara'a. Al-aslu al-bara'a. That the foundation, the ordinary position or the foundational position is that the person is innocent until the claimant can bring evidence to prove that he is guilty. Yeah, so it's not the other way around. It's not you're guilty until you can prove otherwise. It's not upon you to provide evidence. If you're accused, it's not upon you to provide evidence. Does that make sense? The burden of proof is upon the one who's making the claim. And here as well, like I said, to protect the people's property and their lives. And it also creates a sense of accountability and the fear of Allah in the community. When you say, وَالْيَمِينُ عَلَى مَنْ أَنْكَرَ. Why? We'll get into this with the ayah where Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَشْتَرُونَ بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ وَأَيْمَانِهِمْ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا أُولَٰئِكَ لَا خَلَاقَ لَهُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ وَلَا يُكَلِّمُهُمُ اللَّهُ وَلَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَيْهِمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَلَا يُزَكِّيهِمْ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. 5 punishments Allah mentions in this ayah. That those who trade Allah's covenant, meaning you took an oath by Allah, and on these oaths, you wanted to just gain some small thing of this dunya. I wanted to just get this book. I wanted to get his house. I wanted to get anything of his property or his life. And I swear by Allah on this case. And then Allah says, You will have no share in the akhirah. Allah will not speak to you. Allah will not look at you. Allah will not purify on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And on top of that, you will suffer a painful punishment. 5 things that Allah has mentioned to show the severity of this. And the evidence that this ayah is used for this is when Rasulullah ﷺ, rather in contextual, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was narrating a hadith and he said, "Man halafa ala yaminin yastahiqqu biha malan wa huwa fiha fajir, laqi Allah wa huwa alayhi ghadban." That whoever makes an oath by Allah just to try to get some wealth that is not his, then he will meet Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah and Allah will be angry with him. Imagine you're resurrected Yawm al-Qiyamah and Allah is in complete wrath with you and angered with you, and all these 5 things happen to you. When Al-Ash'ath ibn Qais, a companion, when he heard Al-Ash'ath ibn Qais from Yemen, he said, "Who told you this hadith?" When he heard the tabi'een speaking about this hadith, they said, Abu Abdurrahman. He said, "Wallahi, this ayah, it was revealed upon me. It was revealed about me." He said, "I had a piece of land that was mine. It was my land, and somebody else was taking control of, had taken the land basically. And we went to and we complained to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Al-Ash'ath here, he is what is he? The claimant, and the other person is the accused. So they come before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Al-Ash'ath, "Do you have any proof, any witnesses to say that that is your land?" He said, "I have no proof, Ya Rasulullah." He said, "Okay, then upon him is to make the oath." So he said, and Ash'ath ibn Qais, he has nothing, he knows the truth is with him. So he says, "Idhan yahlif, let him take the oath, because I know for sure that this is my property." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the accused, he said, and he mentioned this hadith, whoever takes an oath by Allah to try to get somebody else's wealth, then he will meet Allah and Allah is angry with him on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So here, the qadi or the judge, is upon him to remind the person about this, to recite this ayah, to tell him that this is what's going to happen Yawm al-Qiyamah. And now this is where, subhanAllah, where we believe in true justice, because it could be the case where you have somebody who's a complete fajr, like the hadith mentions, is a complete sinner, and he just says, "You know what, I don't care, I really want this piece of land, I really want this house, I'm going to make an oath." If he makes an oath, then inshallah you have not lost out as a believer. You have not lost out. Like he said, "Idhan yahlif wala ubali." Let him make an oath and I don't care. Because if he is making an oath, I'm the one who is mustafid Yawm al-Qiyamah. He is the one that is going to lose out big time. So here, this is why, this is from the principles of Islam, that the one who is accused is upon him to make that oath. It puts the accountability upon himself. Right. Moving on, when it comes to evidence in Islam, what do we consider evidence? Primarily, we consider ash-shuhud, to have witnesses, and those witnesses need to meet a certain requirement. If it's, for example, especially when it comes to financial disputes, it has to be 2 men, or 1 man and 2 women, as is in the ayah, but preferably 2 men. The testimonies can be written or they can be oral, and also there should be some sort of clues and evidences that can be used for this. Very quickly, we've dealt with this matter before, but I'll just mention it very quick again. The idea of why is it that it's 2 men, why can't you have the testimony of 2 women and not 2 men? Because with the society we're in, I'll deal with this thing. In Islam, Allah gives more responsibility because of the dangers, the danger of that situation. Imagine somebody gave somebody $1 million, £1 million or whatever, and you would anybody here be happy for their mother or their wife or their daughter or their sister to be a witness to this transaction? Because they're going to be bought one day, and there's going to be heat on them. Imagine. Nobody would want that for their mother or their sister. Nobody would want that. So this is actually protecting the woman. This is actually protecting her. That Allah did not overburden them with things. Allah did not burden them with Salatul Jama'ah. They don't have to leave their homes. This is upon the man. Allah did not burden them with things like this. Again, this is all from the rahmah of Allah. Allah, who is the creator of the woman, understanding her limitations, understanding where she is thing. And this is not always the case when it comes to, for example, like other social life or things like this. Then the testimony of the woman is enough. Like, for example, if somebody was breastfed by this, as we mentioned in the hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said enough for slave girl who made that testimony, that he took the testimony of the slave girl. So it's not always the case, but we're talking about in cases where there's serious, money and life and death. Why? Because Allah does not want to put the untha or the female in that difficult position in the first place. طيب. When it comes to qara'in, we call it evidence or clues. There's something that is very important in Islam. For example, with the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, we know the وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا, when the witness from the wife of the Aziz, the minister, a witness from the wife who's the one who's doing the wrong, and the from her own family, he says, listen, if the shirt is ripped from the front, that means Yusuf alayhi salam, he is guilty. But if it's from the back, then that means he is innocent. So this is what we call qara'in, looking at the clues and the evidences. And that's why the judge needs to be somebody who is very aqil, very intelligent, to be able to look through and study these qara'in, we call clues and evidences. Yeah, we'll leave the question right to then, inshallah, when we get to that, inshallah. So this is what we mean by evidences in Islam. By moving on, that brings us to the judge. The judge in Islam, there are many shurut that the fuqaha, they write down. What kind of, not anybody can be a judge. So a judge needs to be, first of all, a Muslim. You can't have a non-Muslim judge when it comes to the Sharia courts. It needs to be of sound mind, aql, and he needs to be a baligh and mayor, dhukura, and also he needs to be mature. Can't have a young boy, for example, or somebody who's not mature to be the judge. Sound mind, of course, he has to have a level of intellect, and he has to be a man. So it is not permissible in Islamic law for the woman to be a judge, a qadi. Of course, the judge has to be known to be trustworthy and just. Can't be known to be a liar. He can't be known to do injustice. And he needs to be somebody of comprehension and foresight, being able to understand these clues and evidences, qara'in. This is something that requires a level of comprehension and foresight. And of course, having knowledge and wisdom, knowledge of the deen of Islam, knowledge of the legal matters in Islam, knowledge of the Sharia itself, so that he can give the judgment according to the law of Allah. Just like a judge in the Western judiciary system, he needs to be aware of all the legal things. And likewise, the judge in Islam needs to be aware of all the law of Allah. He needs to be aware of the law of Allah. You can't have a qadi who's unaware of the law of Allah. So he needs to be alim, needs to be a scholar of Islam. طيب. How is a jury, and now this is why I'm going to, somebody said ask the jury. We don't have jury in Islam. We don't have this thing as a jury. We don't have people that will decide the fate of that person or decide the ruling on that person. How is a jury deciding the case in opposition to Islamic principles? I want to pick your brains here to see how can we say that having a jury to decide the matter, how is this, yarhamukallah, how is this in opposition to the principles of Islam? Let's see what we can come up with. If you can make it, type it down, or you can. Jury is when you have the 12 people from your peers. They say that will they get together, and they'll say he's guilty or he's not guilty. So this is not something that is in the Sharia. Can we think of what are the reasons why a jury is not Islamic? Come on, let's see. There's plenty of things that we can say. Ahsant, barakallah fiqh. The jury could be just moved by emotions. Like the claimant is crocodile tears. Khalas, let's rule in favor of him.
Just like the example you gave about the
Ahsant, barakallah fiqh. They can be biased. Yeah, for example, you have a complete white jury and the defendant or the accused is black. And so then this is proven by case studies. The statistics show that this is the case, where they have the jury and they just see that the individual is black. They have a prejudice and they say, "Khalas, he's guilty." So this can be the case, having this prejudice and racism. Let's see what I have here. Opinions may be involved rather than the use of laws. Ahsant. What's to know that this jury are people of knowledge? They have no knowledge of the deen of Allah. They have no knowledge of what the laws of Allah are. They're just putting their opinions in. This is not Islam. Islam is not about your personal opinion. Islam is what Allah tells us in the Quran and what Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us. Some of them might have hate. Yeah, it could be a case where some of the jury members, especially if it's in a community, This guy, he did something to me before, and he does it based on his previous experience with him. Like anything else?
Like the claimant has a good lawyer. Good lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah, so eloquence. In min al-bayan ila sihr. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, from your speech, it is a form of magic, meaning you can win people over just through your speech. So one side could be very eloquent, and the jury are amazed by his eloquence and say, "Khalas, this guy must be telling the truth." So that's why it takes a level of person to take what is what is the substantial thing, what is he actually saying, rather than the way he's talking and the words he's using and things like this. Another thing that I want to mention, a few points that I've mentioned here, is that, of course, which was sort of mentioned, a lack of knowledge of the Islamic laws, and also people tend to be, what's the word that they say? Sheeple. You understand what this means? Sheeple means the people are like sheep. If Because after what happens in the judiciary system, the 12 people, the 12 jury, they get together, they have a secret meeting, which again shows lack of transparency. We don't know what's happening in that secret meeting. And how are the people are either influenced or they are the influencers. So let's say I'm a person who is I'm eloquent and I've got a very strong personality, and I'm in a room of 11 other people that are, they're a bit quiet and timid, and they're not very, they're a bit shy, they lack confidence. And I feel that guy's guilty, and they're feeling that no, he's not guilty. But I win them over in this secret meeting. I'm saying, listen, if you guys vote this, and I start talking to them, and then I convince all of them to follow my opinion. This is the case of, let's be honest, this is the case of people. People sometimes they lack the confidence. Yeah, they lack the confidence to speak about the truth. Let's say I feel wrong about this. This guy's gonna say, this guy's. I don't want to do it now. I'll follow what everybody else is doing, and this is the problem with these things, and also these things of the jury and things like this. These are what cause delays in the system. Like, we have to wait for the jury to decide. We have to come again. The jury they're unsure what the verdict is. So this creates many different issues. Whereas if you look at Islam, the judge, like we said, some of the things of the judge, when it comes to publicity and secrets, the judge is going to hear things. He has to be a person of amana, person of trustworthy. Two people come in front of me and they talk about things that are very private to their lives. Imagine I heard that in 12 people. I can't ensure that all those 12 people remain silent. They're going to go now and talk about the person's private life. Oh, you know what? I heard about this guy in the courtroom. And this has happened. They go and they publicize everything. Whereas the judge who has amana, the one who is trustworthy, he won't even tell his own wife. The one who's close to him, he won't even tell her, because he has taqwa, and these are obviously the conditions of that judge. The judge also is somebody, he has to be aqil, he has to be somebody who's adil and aqil, somebody who's rational, and he is not swayed by emotions. Like he said, if you have emotions, the judge can see through the crocodile tears. Like Yaqub alayhi salam. They come to him, they come to him crying. He looked beyond the crocodile tears. I can see what you're talking about. And the judge is also somebody who's not going to be influenced. وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُم. If he's stuck with a case, he's not going to go and start talking to general people who have no idea. Well, let me speak to the shopkeeper. Let me speak to the local driver, this person, that person. No, he's going to talk to other qudat, other judges, other people, ulama, scholars, people who have very rational minds and can understand this, people of foresight and firasa. He's going to speak to them and ask them and get their shura if he's stuck. And of course, the issue of clear transparency. The judge makes it clear that this is the issue, 1, 2, 3, khalas. And he can't do it based on his personal thing. He has to abide by the laws of Allah. So this is the justice in Islam. طيب, before we finish, I just want to mention, before we finish, I just want to mention one thing about having the judge that has firasa, or he has, like what we say, a great vision and foresight. There's a hadith that is mentioned in An-Nawawi and is graded Sahih by Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah. Is Dawood alayhi salam. You know that he was obviously a judge as well. Two mothers had come to him, and they said they both had a child. The two mothers they both had a child, and a wolf had come and eaten and ate one of the children. So there's only one child left. So they were saying that this is my child, the elderly woman and the younger woman. They brought before Dawood alayhi salam. And Dawood alayhi salam with him is his son. Who's his son? Sulaiman alayhi salam. So they bring forth their evidences and they say, so the elder mother says, this is my child. The younger mother says, no, this is my child. So Dawood alayhi salam, he eventually gives the ruling in favor, based on what he can see, in favor of the elderly woman. And he says, okay, this is your child. Sulaiman alayhi salam asks his father for permission. If you may, let me, I want to get involved with this decision. So Dawood alayhi salam gives authority to his son. Sulaiman alayhi salam says, bring me a knife. I'm going to split this baby in half, and each of you can take one part of the baby. The elderly woman said, the younger woman, she said, no, don't, first, sorry, let me get it right. The elderly woman, she said, yeah, okay, let's do that. So cut the child in half. I'll take one half, she takes the other half. The younger woman, she said, no, don't cut the child. Let her keep the baby. Let her keep the baby. She's the mother. Sulaiman alayhi salam said, rather you are the mother. So look at, you see the dhaka, you see the intelligence. He said, the mother is the one who's going to care. Even if she means losing a child, at least my child lives. The other one doesn't care. Fine, cut the baby in half. We'll do it like this. At least I won the case. But here, this is why the judge, he needs to have a level of dhaka, level of intelligence to be able to decipher and see, through the facts. So not anybody can be a judge. Like, inshallah, what was the question? Mamadou had a question, yeah? You had a question in mind?
In the story of Yusuf alayhi salam,
Yeah.
After the wife of Aziz,
Yeah.
she sends some servants to the city to get some other women
Okay, yeah.
coming to the palace.
Yeah.
And when they witness Yusuf alayhi salam, they cut themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, cut a long story short, he get imprisoned after that,
Yeah.
even though he's innocent.
Yeah.
Was that because the woman and the wife of Aziz, they testify against him, or what was the reason why he got?
Because she's got authority, she's the wife of the minister. She said either you fulfill our demands, basically do what we want, or you will be cast into prison. So he said, I'd rather go into prison. So he chose to be in prison rather than fulfill their demands.
And it wasn't based on evidence or.
Oh, no, of course it wasn't based on anything like that. Only then afterwards, when the king inquired and tried to find out, that's when justice came, and then what happened in that case was what we call in the Sharia the strongest form of evidence, when the person himself testifies and says, I'm guilty. So, الآن حصحص الحق. Now is the time for the truth. He was not the thing, and I was the one who was wrong. Yeah. Let's see here. We've got a few questions here. If one of the two people in court, a family member of the judge, will they change the judge, or would they not know and the judge will give favor to his family member? So what do you mean by they? This is obviously an issue here. But what we're talking about is obviously the judge is somebody who has taqwa, somebody who fears Allah, and somebody who's known to fear Allah. And if he's a person who fears Allah, then he's going to follow the ayah in the Quran, يا الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين يا الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو كانوا على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين. That all you who believe, stand firmly for justice as witnesses before Allah, even if it means testifying against yourself or your family members or your relatives. So this is, of course, the judge cannot be anybody that is like, just off the street. This is the whole point. The judge has to be vetted by the Imam or by whoever the Imam of the. When I say Imam, I mean the Muslim ruler who vets who's going to be. Remember the Sahaba, Umar ibn al-Khattab, he was very careful of who he chose. Uthman ibn Affan and all these people, they were very careful of who is judge. They chose people who were well known. You can't have some ignoramus person, or somebody who don't know who he is, and we just bring him as a judge just because he's got some certain qualifications. No, one of the main things is taqwa. Obviously, a taqwa only Allah knows, but we try our best to decipher. He's a person who's known to have amana. So in this case, even if it's his own family member, we know that he's going to bring justice, and we have many examples of this. The greatest example is of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, even if it's my own daughter Fatima radiallahu anha, even if it's her that stole, we'll put the head on her as well. Even if it's my own daughter. Umar ibn al-Khattab punished his own son. He was the judge. They brought the case to him, and his son was guilty. He said the punishment for his own son. In fact, he was even more harsh on his own son. So here we can see that the justice of the judge is from the requirements of the judge, that he's somebody who's adil, somebody who's يخاف Allah, he fears Allah, he has taqwa. So these are very important things. This is why it doesn't matter whether he's his own parents in the thing, because of his taqwa and his allegiance to Allah comes first. The law of Allah comes first to him. طيب, is it permissible for a female to study law and become a judge? If no, then can we accept decision of a female judge? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لن يفلح القوم لن يفلح القوم ولا امرأهم امرأة ولا أمرهم امرأة. People will never flourish. They will never flourish. They will never flourish. Who? The ones who place a woman in authority and in leadership of their affairs. It's very clear. And it's not something that we're going to sugarcoat anything like that. And it's not about, Islam is against the woman or anything like that. Everybody has roles and responsibilities. Everybody has roles and responsibilities in life. And it is not the place of a woman to be a judge. Rather, it is not the place of any man to be a judge. There are conditions. But Allah has created certain faculties in a man that he has not created in a woman. And likewise, Allah has created certain faculties in a woman that is not created in a man. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. The male is not like the female. And the Sharia, there's a reason. It's the creator at the end of the day. He's the one that knows what is best. So he decides who is the one who deserves to be a person who's a judge. And don't forget, it's the level of responsibility. Are you going to say now that the woman also, if there is fighting taking place, the woman also should be on the battlefield? Nobody would say this, because of the level of responsibility and risk. Likewise, the level of responsibility and risk on the judge is high. You could do something and it could be your seat in Jahannam. That's that level of risk that he has. And that's why the judge is constantly fearful. Umar ibn al-Khattab said, I fear that a donkey dies somewhere in Sham and I am the one who will be questioned by Allah. A judge has to have that level of accountability. Dawood alayhi salam, how he was scared just to judge between two people of an argument. This is the level of accountability and responsibility. Nobody's saying that this is any nuqsa, like the woman is like this or something like that. But it's just how Allah has created both things. And even the statistics, they show that a woman is more emotional, and that's not a bad thing. People think that this is a bad thing, that a woman is more emotional. We say Allah has created that purposefully. Why? Because she's a mother. She needs to have more affection, more compassion, and when raising the child, nobody can have better affection than your own mother. That is why your mother has such a great status. Why do we look at things because just the West is telling you, like, this is not equality, this is that. Allah has given you what it is. Allah created the woman emotional for a purpose, because she's a mother. She's somebody that has to give affection to the children and so on. And Allah created the man in a certain way, and they both balance each other. The man is rational, so he can make the certain judgments that are clear. The woman is emotional to help the child to grow up in a stable, safe environment, to be a good mother. So these are things that are from the beauty of the creation of Allah. And they're not something that we should be ashamed of or that we should be scared to say. Islam believes not in just pure equality and that's it. Islam believes in justice, adala, not equalizing things. And that is why it's important that we stick with these things that Allah has mentioned. So here, this is a very important thing to understand, that this level of risk and responsibility, Allah has not burdened everybody with that.
Just to add to the question you just answered, is it okay for a Muslim, either male or female? Okay, you've cleared the female part, but the male, is it okay for a Muslim to become a lawyer or to choose law as a profession?
In what sense? You mean like in the
sense that
Western judicial system?
Yeah, Western, yeah. Because I always believe that lawyers are liars because they are trained to lie. They are trained to lie. So, so what's Islam? Islamic view on that?
Well, I can't answer that. It's not my thing. I can go back to inshallah and ask about that issue. But in general, I would say there's a kind of balance with this. Of course, we need to understand that the law of Allah is the Sharia that we believe in. And if you're going to be a lawyer and you're going to lie and you're going to, take away people's wealth and things like that, imagine you're a lawyer and somebody comes to you and says, I just had a divorce. I want to take half of my spouse's property or their wealth. And you're helping them in doing that. You're helping them in stealing. Why? Because this is part of the law. You have to do it. Okay, fine. You have to do it because it was your job. But are you going to stand before Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah and have that rope of fire around your neck? I would say, think carefully about that. If there was in some case, now others will argue, not a position that I personally take on, but others will argue to say that if like for example with Yusuf alayhi salam, he took a position of authority in the land under the law of the king, so that he can be a person of justice. I do agree to an extent that Muslims need to be in the different positions of authority within the land so that we can try to balance things and bring about justice. That level of there, I'm not the one that's for the scholars to decide where the limits and boundaries are for that. That's the whole discussion of can you have Muslims in certain positions of power and authority. I do agree with the idea of it, that it is there to balance things where Muslims can be in places of authority to help, of course, advance al-Islam, to help the Muslims where they can. But obviously, that again, the senior scholars would have to be referred to as to what's the extent of that. Is it something that can be done to such an extent and so on? But yeah, I mean, what I would say is, if a person is going to do this, I'm not going to give a fatwa. That's not my position. If a person was to go down this line, you'd have to make sure that you do not make any. Obviously, first of all, you're not lying, and you're not making a ruling or doing something that is going against the ruling of Allah. How you do that, I don't know. That's your, as a lawyer, that's your profession. You know best. But you have to be able to make sure you ensure you don't do those things. If you're going to do those things, then find a better job, and Allah will man taraka shay'an lillah awadahu Allahu khayran min. Whoever leaves something for the sake of Allah, Allah will grant him a better replacement. But if it means that you're going to help somebody steal something that is not theirs, it might be part of the law of the land, but it's not part of the Sharia. You're helping a person doing dhulm, you're going to be answerable for that Yawm al-Qiyamah.
So there are different sections, like
Like family law and all these things. Yeah, so those things you have to be careful. Like, for example, when it comes to inheritance, I'm just thinking of these scenarios. These are things that get me worried. It comes to inheritance, and there's a practicing Muslim family. They say we want to do the inheritance according to the Sharia. There's that one child that is affected by the how things are, and that one child says, you know what, I want to do it like according to the law of the land. And then he comes to you, the Muslim lawyer. You now have to fulfill his thing, right? You can't say, no, your family said the Sharia way, let them do that. You can maybe advise him, but can you help that person in the court and make him go against the wirath, the wasiyah that Allah has put in the Quran? Like, subhanAllah, Allah is saying, يُوصِيكُمُ اللَّهُ فِي أَوْلَادِكُمْ وَلَكُمْ نِصْفُ مَا تَرَكْ. All this Allah has mentioned in the Quran, and then you're coming and saying, no, Allah, sorry, this is your hukm, but this is the hukm of the land we're living in the moment. Takes Wallah, if you're willing to do that and stand Yawm al-Qiyamah before Allah, then that is something you have to ask yourself. So again, I'm not going to give you fatwa, but I would say have these considerations. Wallahu a'lam. طيب, I think we'll stop there, inshallah. Is there any more questions? And then we can, yeah.
Sheikh, what parties take the oath? Then what's the rule in there? If the claimant and the defendant get the oath by Allah. So then the judge, how does he rule?
And there's no evidence.
No evidence.
If there's no evidence, then the ruling goes in favor of the one who's been accused, because the asl, or the foundation, is that the one who's been claimed upon, he is things. So, like for example, the book was with Murad. When we came to the judge, when we come to the court, the book is with Murad. So the asl is that it's Murad's book, unless I, as a claimant, can provide evidence, then only. If we both swear by Allah, it's the one who's the accused who's in favor. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, decent question. Is there any code of appeal in Sharia law, like what he said? If the claimant 100% is on and the accuser, the claimant has no evidence and the accuser take the oath, and still the claimant is not, happy with it, and he don't want to give up because of his land. Go to another, court of appeal, or there's no court of appeal. It's just the ruling.
No, so this is it. If he has no evidence, and he's just claiming, then there's no way in the Sharia for him to take that. He has to either have evidence or the person has to not swear by Allah. He's making that oath. Now, I know what you're saying. There could be a scenario where you are in the right, like the case of Al-Ash'ath ibn Qais. There was his land, and he's making that claim. He's got no evidence. But that's why it comes here that, I mean, even in this judiciary system that we have today, are all 100% of the rulings correct? No. So likewise, we're not saying that the Sharia is definitely going to always have the right ruling, but we say that is going to have the right ruling on Qiyamah. So if you lost the property, you are the claimant and the accused. He was a liar and he swore by Allah, and you have no evidence to prove otherwise, then as I would say, as Al-Ash'ath ibn Qais said, احلف إذن ولا أبالي. Go ahead and swear. I don't care. Because Yawm al-Qiyamah, I will get even better than the house that I lost. I will get even better than the wealth that I lost. You understand that point? So, yeah.
اللي هو المدعي يحلف في الدماء سمعت عنه؟
لا والله, I'll get back to that inshallah. طيب.
So the judge will not give chance to the claimant also to take oath.
Sorry?
You don't want to give up. I said the judge will not give a chance to the claimant also to take oath because you don't want to give up.
No. See, the whole point is the principle that the basis is that the accused is innocent until proven guilty. So him just saying, I swear by Allah that I didn't do it, I swear by Allah, this is mine, I swear by Allah, I'm not guilty, this is enough to free him. Do you understand? The claimant, he can claim as much as he wants, but if he's got no evidence, then nobody can rule in favor of him.
So maybe what is trying to say is there any chance a claimant can take a oath? You know that maybe is there any chance a claimant can also take a oath and say, Wallahi, I'm the owner?
Yeah, let him say that, but the judge can't. The judge is bound by the Sharia. Even if the claimant says, Wallahi, this is mine, Wallahi, and he swears till tomorrow, the judge might feel like, he seems like he's very genuine, but the judge is bound by the Sharia. Why? Because if he does allow it, he opens the door to great evil. And what is that? لَدَّعَى رِجَالٌ أَمْوَالَ قَوْمٍ وَدِمَاءَهُم. If it was given, then people would claim the lives and property of others. And this is happening Allah in the world today. Somebody will just come and say, that person raped me, made a claim like that. And they will judge in favor with no evidence being brought, no witnesses, nothing. And the person has got no choice. Why? Because this is the way it is now. That's why Islam came to prevent that stuff happening. Or for example, this is my house. No evidence, nothing. You know what? You make a good argument. You swore by Allah, khalas, take his house. Very dangerous. Opening a door to great evil.
What about in the case of mere argument, like the one you just mentioned about Sulaiman, that he gave the judgment? So, both of them were arguing on a child.
Yeah.
So, I don't know who's the claimant, who's the accused in this kind of scenario.